So we mentioned last week that we will start Be'ezrat Hashem halachot of bishul, the halachot of cooking on Shabbat, and we are starting Siman Shin Yud Chet 318. It's quite a long Siman and quite a few relevant questions we have from the Siman. So therefore, we will not touch everything today, and Be'ezrat Hashem, we will learn it at least in 2 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks. We are skipping the first 2 paragraphs, the first 2 sifim. They talk about something called Ma'aseh Shabbat. Super important. The reason that we are skipping it, it's not because it's not important, the opposite, because it's so important and we have so many relevant questions from it, from those 2 paragraphs, that we will dedicate a whole shiur for that. And the question which we are skipping today and we will discuss later is what happens if someone cooked for me on Shabbat? What happens if someone turns on the light on Shabbat? Can I be in the room? If someone cooked food on Shabbat by mistake or by purpose, can I enjoy it on Shabbat? I'll give you an example which happened to me. I once went to a relative on Shabbat, and they had, for Shabbat day, they had salmon. When they brought it to the table, they realized that the salmon wasn't fully cooked, so they decided to put it back on the platter, on the hot plate, and have it for Seudah Shlishit. And that's what they did. Can you eat it on Seudah Shlishit? Or is it called cooked on Shabbat or no? After we understand the laws of cooking on Shabbat, we will go back to those 2 paragraphs and answer those questions. Another topic which Be'ezrat Hashem we will discuss next week, not this week, is tea on Shabbat. Can I make tea on Shabbat? Yes, no. Do we need a kli shlishi? Do we need to make tea essence? What's the best way to make tea on Shabbat? And some of us, I think, have a very simple answer to it. Who drinks tea? Just drink coffee, right? That's an answer for some of us. Why do those British people drink tea? I like tea. Anyway, so that's the topics we'll Be'ezrat Hashem discuss. Everything about cooking on Shabbat, kli rishon, kli sheni, kli shlishi, Be'ezrat Hashem will be probably next week, using taking out water from the dud shemesh will Be'ezrat Hashem be this week, but let's begin. Okay, so because it's so important, those halachot, and we meet them so often, I will read the Shulchan Aruch inside. And as I mentioned, we are in Shin Yud Chet 318, and we are starting from Saif Gimel. We are skipping the first 2. We are starting from Saif Gimel. And said the Shulchan Aruch, obviously we all know it's forbidden to cook on Shabbat. So says the Shulchan Aruch, Keshem she'asur levashel ba'or, the same as one person isn't allowed to cook in fire, with fire, or is fire, כך אסור לבשל בתולדות האור. The same we aren't allowed to cook with something that was heated by fire. And he gives an example. כגון ניתן ביצה בצד קדרה או לשוברה על סודר שהוא חם באור כדי שתצלה. Let's say I took a very heavy metal pan and warmed it up until it's boiling on the fire. After it is boiling, I took it off the fire and broke on it an egg. So that's forbidden to cook on Shabbat, although it's not on the fire, since it was warmed up by fire. By the way, typically we view electricity as fire. Okay, so microwave, even microwave is considered fire. We aren't allowed to cook with a microwave. If we have an induction, or if you have any other electric heat source, this is considered like a flame, like fire on Shabbat. And the Shulchan Aruch continues to quite a common question in our days. What about cooking in the sun? I'm not sure exactly where, but somewhere down south, there's a small I'm not sure if to call it a village, a settlement, maybe it's more like a farm, that it's like a natural, it's a natural farm. They like they're living in natural ideas. So what do? For cooking, they try to use as much as possible natural resources without burning. Now it's so hot down south, somewhere in the Arava. They have a few mirrors, and they concentrate all of the sunlight on a black pot they have in the center. If I find maybe a picture of it, I'll share with you. One moment. Let's see if I can find a picture. And all of this heat creates. You can cook with it. If you go down south, you notice somewhere there's a huge tower down south. I'll share a picture of you, which has thousands of mirrors around it, and all of those mirrors reflect the sun towards something there on the top. It absorbs all of the heat. It gets all of the heat, and that's how they make electricity. It heats up, I guess, water. It makes electricity there. Let's see if I can find a picture of it very fast. I think it's called Mitkan Shalim. Yes, here it is. Okay, I'll share with you the picture. And why isn't it working? One moment. Sharing the picture isn't working. Okay, it is. So that's the benefits of using Zoom. We can share things. Hopefully, we can share. I'm not sure. Okay, so if you can notice here, there's a ton of thousands of mirrors around this big tower. All of the sun goes up to the top here, and you actually cook with the sun. Okay, so it can be quite common today to cook with the sun. You're allowed to do it and how to do it. So let's continue reading the Shulchan Aruch. And the Shulchan Aruch will differentiate between two options. One is cooking with the sun itself, and one is cooking on something which was heated up on the sun. And that will also bring to us big questions, as we'll see in just a few moments. So let's continue reading the Shulchan Aruch. Says the Shulchan Aruch, ואפילו בתולדות חמה, something that was heated up by the sun, and he gives an example like something hot that was heated up by the sun, you aren't allowed to cook on that. Why? It is too similar to something that was heated up by the fire. Okay, people don't notice the difference between taking a hot pan, putting it on a flame, or taking a hot pan and putting it in front of the sun. So although it's not the regular way of cooking in the sun, and the Torah talks about cooking, the Torah talks about cooking in fire. Okay, so that's the way of cooking with fire, with electricity, which is like fire. Since people don't notice the difference between cooking on something that was warmed up by the sun or cooking on something that was warmed up by the fire, by flames, so Chazal said it's forbidden. Another example brings the Shulchan Aruch. You can't take an egg and bury it in the hot sand in order to cook it, because the sand gets hot by the sun, and then it cooks up the egg. But, says the Shulchan Aruch, cooking in the sun itself, okay, cooking in the sun itself, for example, taking an egg and putting it in the sun, or taking water and putting it in the sun in order that it will become warm, this is permitted. Okay, that's permitted. And why that's such a common question today? When's the last time you cooked an egg in the sun? So Danny comes from New York, right, Danny? So I'm sure it's too cold to take an egg and put it out in the sun, right? Harry,
Right.
Okay, here in Ma'ale Adumim, also it's not so common to cook an egg in the sun. Why is this halacha so important and so relevant to us? We use it every day, almost. We cook every day, besides the winter, we cook in the sun. Dud shemesh, right? Dud shemesh. How do you say dud shemesh in English? Disconnect the microphone. I can hear you.
Beit shemesh.
Dud shemesh. Dud shemesh. Solar heating elements for water.
Oh, sun.
Water
solar,
tank.
Solar panels.
Solar tank. Okay, solar tank. Okay. It could be dud shemesh, right? My friend shemesh, but no, it's dud shemesh, the solar tank. So that is very, very common. And the question is, how do we view the dud shemesh? How do we view this solar panels? If it's heating in the sun itself, it's permitted. If it's heating the water with something which was heated up by the sun, so it is forbidden on Shabbat. If you go up to the roof and look at those panels you have, you'll see that it's like a box with pipes inside it. There's a glass on the top, black, to absorb all of the heat, and the pipes are also hot, so also black. So the question is, what's considered here heating in what? Is it heating inside the itself, or heating with something which gets heated by the sun? Generally speaking, many poskim view it as heating with something which gets heated up by the sun, right? Because the pipes get heated in the sun, and the pipes get heated in that box that absorbs all of the heat and is covered with glass. So that the air inside gets very hot, and that warms up the water. Then you have hot water. So therefore, according to many poskim, it is forbidden midirabanan, rabbinical. I'm not coming to here with the question, which is a big question, grama, not grama, ha, that's something else, but warming up, cooking water in that solar panel, that is forbidden midirabanan. Okay? It's a rabbinical midirabanan. So that's the first topic.
What about a hot spring or a hot earth that you can bury a pot in? Like
Burying
a volcanic
one inside volcanic. For example, in Chamei Tveria,
right.
there's actually a Mishnah. I'll see if I can find it. I almost won't find the Mishnah anyway, but anyway. So, Mishnah. Anyway, I won't find the Mishnah, but the Gemara said that cooking in a hot spring is not considered bishul. Okay, it's not considered bishul. As we can see from here, which is, thank you for bringing it up, many definitions, or many times we have in Shabbat, it's not just the what's forbidden or what's permitted. It doesn't depend only on the on what happened in the end. I have here a piece of steak, okay? So in the end, in both cases, if I cook in the sun, if I cook by fire, if I cook with a hot spring or in a volcano, in the end, the result is the same. In Shabbat, we aren't looking just for the results. Also, the process that leads us to the result is also very important. So that's something important about Shabbat. Therefore, we have a big idea, halacha of shinui, okay, the way we do it. It has to be done the way we did it in the Mishkan, okay, or in the regular way people do it. So people usually don't cook in volcanoes. Thank you very much for bringing it up. And Bobby has here a question: why is warming water considered cooking? Isn't some change in the physical nature of matter necessary for it to be called cooked? Okay, so there's maybe two answers we can give, Bobby. And thanks for asking, because it brings us to the next topic. But the first answer, and maybe I'm a bit trying to escape, is no problem. You are welcome to make your tea in cold water and have your coffee with cold water. And as soon as you have coffee with cold water, so we'll say there's no difference in cooking or no cooking. Obviously, we like our coffee to be, some people say, 98 degrees exactly, not 1 degree less, not 1 degree more. There's no physical change in when water heats up, warms up. There is a change in the way we see water, and that's also another important thing on Shabbat. I'm trying to think. There are many, many examples. Just giving them will expand too much. It's got to do a bit with topics we'll touch in shul on Shabbat about grammar and sikresha. But a lot of the definition of melachot on Shabbat is the way we view it. Okay? The way we view it, usually it's about creation, usually. And in hot water, when you have, so you say, I created here now something different. I created here now water that can be used for cooking something else, can be used to put inside coffee, that they can be used now to put inside a bag of tea. So there's no physical change in the water itself, but we view the water now as something totally different. Okay, it's now almost a cup of coffee. Just need to add some powder, and it's almost a cup of coffee. So we view it something else. I think that's the simple way to understand it. When we get in just a moment to bishul achar bishul, cooking after cooking, that question becomes even greater. Okay, so let's get to the next topic of bishul achar bishul. And okay, the next Seif Daled, I will not read it because it's long, relatively long. We will just go through the details without reading. And we all know there's a rule of ein bishul achar bishul. Once we cooked something, there's no more cooking. Okay, it can't be cooked again. It already got the essence, the meaning of it being cooked, and we can walk, at least from the Torah perspective, without going to the rabbinical perspective. I can warm it up again and again. Cooked schnitzel is a cooked schnitzel, and that's it. What about liquid? What about liquid? And we have a machloket, an argument about liquid. Is there bishul achar bishul? Is the problem of cooking liquid after we cooked up the liquid again? And maybe the best way to understand the argument, and that I think also refers, Bobby, to the question that you asked, is that with solid foods, with solid food, we view something cooked, as soon as it's cooked, there's a physical change in it. Okay, the meat became more tender, the tissues they changed. So that's cooked. And as soon as the tissues have changed a bit and the meat, whatever happened to it, that's cooked. Okay, that's already will be cooked. With liquids, with the way we view part of the change of the essence of the meaning of liquids is the heat in it. When I have soup, part of the idea of having soup that I want a hot soup. That's soup. If I'm having a cold soup, that's called gazpacho soup. It's not soup. It's some liquid. By definition, the meaning of liquid being cooked is the temperature inside it. As we mentioned, there's something quite interesting in Shabbat, that a lot of the definition of creation of what we're doing on Shabbat doesn't necessarily go by what actually is happening there, rather by how we view it. Maybe I'll give just one example for it, just to see that it really goes in many cases of Shabbat. Can I take a piece of lemon or grape? Can I take a piece of grape, squeeze it, and take out the grape juice on Shabbat? The answer is no. Okay, I'm creating grape juice. And that's called sochet. Okay, I can't squeeze grape juice or grapes on Shabbat. I have a can of pickles. Okay, I have a can of pickles, and sometimes the pickles are full of water, and I'm dishing up kugel. Okay, I have the Yerushalmi kugel, the great smell coming to me with the great smell of the Yerushalmi kugel, and as a good Jew, I want to serve it with pickles, but the pickles have water inside them, and I don't want the water. It ruins the plate. And I take the pickle and squeeze the water out on Shabbat. So the answer is yes. You can squeeze out the water, the juices, out of a pickle on Shabbat. And the question is why? Okay, if it's squeezing pickles or squeezing grapes, in the end you're creating here juice. So the answer will be, with grapes, I want the juice, but with pickles, I don't want the juice. Still a question. There's halacha, even if I don't want the result, I'm doing an action of squeezing. So what do I care? If you want it, you don't want it. I can't now light a fire. Oh, I just want to play. Not trying to light a fire. I just want, I don't know, to play with matches. Okay? Who cares if you want? In the end, the result is the same. And the answer is that here, by definition, when I want the juice, okay, so I'm creating here liquid. I'm creating juice. I'm creating grape juice. So when I don't want the juice, I'm not creating anything. Okay, so the definition of creation is defined, the creation is defined by my thought, by my intention. So having the intention of getting away the juice, I'm not creating here anything. So that's an example of how our intention, melechet machshevet, okay, the Gemara terms, how our intentions, they define what is considered the creation. And that, I think, Bobby, really answers your question about liquids, that we view liquid as, oh, as soon as I warm up the soup again, so I warmed it up. And there's something important here. It is now considered soup. Okay, so however, we have a machloket. It's not so simple that warming up soup again is forbidden on Shabbat. There's quite a few Rishonim. For example, the Rambam. Okay, the Rambam, the Rashba, the Ran, Rabbeinu Nissim, they all hold it doesn't matter if it's liquid, if it's solids, as soon as you cooked it once, that's it. There's no more problem, at least from the Torah law, in cooking it again. And you can take a bowl of soup out of the fridge, put it on the hot plate. There's no problem with the writer in cooking it. That's some of the Rishonim, that's what they hold. The Rambam, Rashba, and the Ran. However, many Rishonim, like Rashi, Rosh, the Sefer Mitzvot Gadol, the Sefer Mitzvot Katan, and more Rishonim, they hold like the Shulchan Aruch is Paskan. There's a difference between solids and liquids. Okay, solids you can cook again. As soon as they're cooked once, you can warm them up again. And liquids, you can't. Okay, liquids, as soon as they cool down, as soon as they cooled a bit, you can't cook them again. That's the opinion of many Rishonim. That's how the Shulchan Aruch is Paskan. The Ramah has an interesting story. So before the Ramah, so according to Shulchan Aruch, I have soup, it cooled down, now I can't warm it up again. On Shabbat, it's considered cooking. The Ramah holds that if it's still a bit warm, so there's no problem in cooking. If it cooled down completely, there's a problem of cooking. But if it's still a bit warm, there's no problem of cooking. Many ask, how did the Ramah get to this opinion? And many answer, I think there's more explanations, but many answer that the Rama was a bit, he holds, there's no problem in cooking liquid after liquid. You can take soup and put it on the hot plate. But he wanted to be a bit more machmir. He wanted to be a bit more stringent and lean a bit more towards the other opinion. And therefore he did something in between. And he said, if it's completely cold, so you can't warm it up again. If it is still a bit warm, you can warm it up again. Okay, so that's about liquids. And now the last topic we will discuss today is what is considered liquid. Okay, so if I take a bowl of soup, obviously that is liquid, right? If I take a piece of fish, it has a bit of water or some liquid on it. Is that considered liquid? If I take chicken and there's a bit of sauce on it, is that considered liquid? If I take meatballs and there's a bit of sauce, is that considered liquid or no? As you can guess, the answer will be machloket. It's an argument. It's an argument, as you can guess. The Beit Yosef, and in our days, Rav Ovadia, that's what he holds. We go by the majority. Okay, if you have meatballs, 70% of the bowl is meat, and you have a bit of vegetables, and 20% liquid sauce. We go by the majority. There's no problem. Take it out of the fridge, put it on the hot plate. There's no problem with it at all. That's the Beit Yosef, and that's the Beit Yosef. Harry, I saw your question, Harry. If we get to it today, great. If not, so on WhatsApp or next week. Some poskim, like the Grot Moshe, Feinstein, and more, hold that as soon as there's a bit of liquid in it, in the food, so there's liquid, okay, and there's a problem in warming it up again. However, even most of the poskim agree that if there's just a tiny bit of liquid on it, okay, that you have chicken. The chicken isn't rock dry. There's a bit of a few drops of sauce on it. That's considered fine. And there is an opinion that says it needs to be 100% dry. The common halacha by the Ashkenazim is like the middle opinion. Okay? If it's a bit wet, it's fine. If it's more than that, it's a problem. Many times when we warm up something, so there's a bit of liquid in it, and I put rice underneath and it absorbs the liquid. And if there's a tiny bit more liquid left, so that's fine. Another question which is related to that, when you warm up meat, many times the liquid goes out. When you put it on the hot plate, it's dry. When you take it off, so all the liquid went out. Also, that is the machloket, but the halacha is, like most of the poskim hold, we go by the beginning. If at the beginning it was dry, and even afterwards, if some of the juices came out, we don't care about it. As long as I took it out from the fridge, put it on the hot plate when it was dry, I don't care about the fact that afterwards there was some liquids that came out. So we'll end here. Just for whoever's going to our meeting, go to our plate. And Harry asked a question, but I'll answer it on the WhatsApp. Okay?
Okay.
Great. So have a great night.